Today, we had a company announce that they are going bankrupt, so they're going out of business. But for some reason, the stock spiked 100%. Why? I don't really care. I just like to trade the price action. And today, we had this stock on our watch list to buy it at 30 cents. And by the time the day was over, it hit a high of 60 cents per share. That is 100% profit. I'm gonna be breaking down why I focused on this stock when I did and why I don't really care about news and I just focus on the price action of the chart, okay? So this is gonna be a very good lesson since we had some amazing profits on this today. Make sure to stay focused and let's just jump right into it. This was by far the main stock of the day, right? And I made that very clear in pre-market. It was the first stock I talked about. I said it's the main one that looks good just from the chart, right? And I think that's going to be the key point and the key lesson from today is that charts are king, right? It doesn't really matter what the news is. As you see, a stock can have the worst news for a company, going bankrupt, but this stock can go crazy. This stock spiked 100%. Very, very good play. I actually traded it twice. I should have stayed in with my, first trade, but we'll talk about that. Let's just kind of focus in, right? This was one of the gappers in pre-market. Whenever I'm going through my pre-market motion, the first thing I do is I just look at all the gappers and I just look at the charts first, right? I just go through, I type in all the ticker symbols and just look at to see how the chart looks. Because the news is kind of secondary to me, right? A stock can have great news, but if the chart looks awful, then I'm not going to really care about it too much, right? Maybe I'll put an alert if it can break out above pre-market high and show me it's bullish. But if a stock has great news, that's not enough. But if a stock has a great chart, that's enough. That's all I need. That's just my philosophy. So this morning, if you look at NCMI, this one, let me see if it shows up on E-Trade. Yeah, it does. So you can see NCMI, without even knowing what the news is, I see it like this in pre-market, right? So the first thing I see here is that, okay, wait, this is looking really good because we have a very clear previous resistance right near 31 cents, right? You can see yesterday in after hours and pre-market, it had a very obvious resistance there. Yesterday, it had good volume, but just kind of pulled back. But then today, for some reason, it is breaking out. So it's breaking through that previous resistance. So now that is going to be a potential play of using previous resistance as new support. And so that is the most important thing to me, right? That's all I care about. I don't care about the news yet. I just care about that. So that was, just without even looking at why it's spiking up, I know that this is a good chart. This is a chart that I can make a strategy out of. I can make a plan for this chart. So then, of course, after that, I do dig in a little bit more and I say, okay, well, why is it gapping up? And you can see it was actually the worst news they could have. They announced that they are filing for bankruptcy protection. They are going into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Basically says that this company, NCMI, is seeking relief under Chapter 11 of the US Bankruptcy Code, right? That's the worst news a company can have, straight up. But regardless, it has a good chart. So obviously there is never any guarantee, and there is definitely some degree of risk whenever a company announces bankruptcy, right? Obviously, it could sell off, but my philosophy with my trades is that if it can hold support, then this, it's bullish. Because the news doesn't discount the fact that people are trapped. Because this did trade pretty good volume yesterday, right? It had, each 5-minute candle trading about 5 million shares for the first hour or so. And it overall sold off. So that was overall a lot of selling pressure. So it sold off, but now today it's gapping up. And, if you just go back to all of my previous lessons, this is a very basic thesis about why stocks move. If there are sellers underneath the current price and they get trapped, they have to buy back in. So it causes like a short squeeze phenomenon. That's why I was focused on this one, because out of all the stocks in pre-market, it had the best chart. So for NCMI, this one is technically a multi-day mover, right? And with a multi-day mover, I like to focus on the hourly chart, right? And specifically the hourly line chart. So it's overall at the same level. You can see that, this hourly line chart has level right near 31.3. But the significance of this is that if you're going to be basing a trade off of the hourly line chart, then ultimately you don't really want to react to like a breakdown until the chart closes on that hourly candle. So you can't make a decision until like 10:01 a.m., 11:01 a.m., 12:01 p.m., so on, so on, so on, right? Because if you react in between the candles closing, it could just become a wick. As you can see here, this first candle, even though it did technically sell off and break through 31 cents, it was overall within the hourly candle. And by the time that candle closed, it got back above. So it was just testing support. It wasn't a breakdown. That's one thing that many traders kind of mess up on. So that's kind of why I was confident in just staying with this through this kind of quick morning sell-off, even though overall, even just here on the 5-minute candle, it barely broke down. Like technically it did, but by less than a cent. It wasn't really a breakdown, right? It was just testing support. And so from here, because I was kind of doing a hybrid of both watching the hourly and the 5-minute, I decided to have my first partial planned into the pre-market high. So I had the first partial planned here right near 39 cents. The stock spiked up, locked in some partials into that. So once this failed to hold 39 cents, I saw that as, okay, that looks kind of weak, right? It's technically no longer holding up the hourly chart. So I'm going to be looking to sell back into that for break even. And I did. And you'll see that when I post the YouTube short later today or tomorrow. So I sold back into that, just leaving the rest, overall selling my entire position from like 30 cents to 39 cents, making 30%, not bad, right? But I definitely had an inkling feeling that, I think this can go further because from the hourly chart, it still was overall bullish, right? That was kind of like right here. And technically from there, once it did that further breakout over the pre-market high, as long as it held above 35 cents, it was still bullish. And it didn't break down through that, so I kind of sold preemptively, right? So that was kind of a mistake, but it is what it is. So left the trade, exited, but I kept watching it. And the main thing I was watching for was, okay, let me see if this can prove to be bullish again intraday. And if it can, then I'll just jump back in. So that new resistance intraday is at about 43 cents. You can see the stock did in fact squeeze back up and it broke out. So that, very obvious breakout. It went from 43 to like 47 in one candle. That's a very obvious breakout. I was like, okay, you know what? This is still definitely bullish. I think a lot of people are getting trapped up with the fact that they can't wrap their brains around why a bankrupt stock is spiking. If you need history of this, look at Hertz, right? That was one of the biggest bankrupt squeezes. If you just look at Hertz, I think it'll show here. Back here in 2020, was it? I can't recall. Hertz announced bankruptcy. The next few days, it squeezed to like $6 per share. It is a thing that can happen where bankrupt stocks can squeeze. So once we saw that break back up above 43 cents, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to plan just a new trade. I'll go long at 43, max loss 39. And my first target here, instead of using the first resistance, I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to target these daily chart levels because I think this can go a bit further. So first level we have is right near this one up here, near 59 cents. That was my first target. 59, then we have like 63. Also, if you look at the 200-day moving average, that's also right in that same area. So lots of reasons to believe that this area near 58 to 63 cents is going to be a big resistance. So I just jumped back into it, made a plan, and I just held on for this thing. Overall, you can see the 5-minute chart did remain bullish for the entire thing because this next level of previous resistance did hold as new support. Then it squeezed up higher. Next level here near 51 cents. Didn't even retest it at all, and it just squeezed right up to 59 cents. So I locked in more partials in here. As it was kind of, holding up there a bit more, I locked in some more partials. I didn't sell the whole thing though, because then you can see it did in fact pull on down. And then from there, I was like, okay, let me see if this can hold up near 47 cents and just hold that line. That would be ideal. I probably should have used 51 cents as the key level because technically that should hold to remain bullish. So I definitely should have just recognized this as a kind of reason to get out, but I stuck with it a little bit. It then sold off lower, tested VWAP. It tested my break-even entry. And I was like, okay, you know what? This thing is pretty big sell-off. I'm just risking it retesting the lower levels. So I'm just going to get out the rest at 47. So I sold the rest there and moved on from the trade. And you can see now in after hours selling off a bit more. But overall, I mean, this was a wild trade. 100% in a single day. Very strong price action. And like I said, from what I saw on like social media and stuff like that, most people weren't watching this at all. Many people were focusing on CELZ, just that main lesson, right? If you're just looking at stocks in pre-market, the main focus I have when I'm looking at stocks is not the news itself. I want to see what has a good chart because that is the basis for a very good trade. News is kind of back burner stuff. Don't focus on just pure gappers with news. Focus on gappers with good charts. And you can think about the news afterwards for some thesis. So if you stuck around for the whole video, then hopefully that means that you enjoyed this lesson and you enjoyed the way that I teach trading. I want to help you on your trading journey. So I have a free 14-day trial for my entire course and mentorship, everything. I have a room called Trade Buddy where we help other people succeed in trading. And this is a 14-day trial. So you can jump in, get all of our content, get our course, learn everything. Try it out. If you like it, stick around. If you don't, cancel. No hassle at all. So I want to see you in there ASAP. Be sure to join before tomorrow so you can join in on the pre-market webinar where we're going to talk about the trades of the day. All right. So with that being said, catch you in the next video.